It's the transfer deal sheet. What's going on, people? How are you? Welcome back to the show, to the channel, Football Therapy with me, your host, Jan. I do hope you're doing well. I do. I really do. Welcome back to Chelsea News. It's Tuesday. So, over a transfer window, when it's a Tuesday, The Athletic released the transfer deal sheet, letting you know about the goings-on, the happenings, and all big and relevant clubs, of course, of which includes the World Rugby Champions for the next 4 years. And that, of course, you may have heard, is little old Chelsea Football Club. I will be dining out on this for such a long time. And forevermore. I also want, before we hop into that, I do want to speak about the sponsor situation, because we're all waiting. Oh, what's going to happen with that? Got so much money, prestige, platform for European competition, Club World Cup badge, etc. So we got to just have a chat about that before we jump into the transfer stuff. So, come on in. That's right, sit down. You sit there, you sit there, you sit there. And what you all can ruddy do, please, is drop a like on this video and subscribe only if you want to. But you should subscribe. You really should subscribe, mate. Come on. I've got all these viewers over my shoulder by a chain, and I'm really trying to drag you over the finish line to 200,000 subscribers. So please, let's see if we can do that together. I'll be very, very grateful. Actually, you know what? We are on 196.35. Chipping away, man. So thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. Yes, I'm sure you all understood that. So let's talk about the Chelsea and sponsors, yeah? We haven't really had many. I mean, look, let's have a look behind me. Fly Emirates on this beauty. And then, of course, well, also, 3 winning the Champions League. But then, of course, we've had recent iterations with no sponsors, like the following. Nice kit, no sponsor. Ooh, I really like this one. Nice kit. Is that the 3rd kit from last season? No sponsor. Heck! This kit, away kit from this season. Nice. Obviously, we've got the FA Cup special. There was this Yokohama, but it's done in blue, so it looks like the 1970 FA Cup final. Beauty. Anyway, the point being, we are in an obscure, weird part of history where we've been used to having no sponsor on our football kit. There is a few more. I will do some more rotations at some point, but these are just my favourites out at the moment. Yeah, man, it's been weird. It's been very weird. Peculiar. Of course, we did the temporary deal with Infinite Athlete, and as in, like, the majority of a season. And then, like, no sponsor all season apart from Damac. Return of Damac, which apparently had some real good, footballing spiritual juju that actually made us good and just continued. Top 4 Conference League win, Club World Cup win, and it's all thanks to Damac. But the truth is, we are in the strongest of negotiating positions that we could have really hoped for, short of winning the Premier League or the domestic treble, getting into a top 4 finish when we only needed top 5. Champions League. So Chelsea are a strong, before any of the cup competitions, Chelsea are a very strong Premier League team. That's what we learned by the end of last season. Very strong and competitive. Potential sponsors will see that, Chelsea are good now. Maybe we can trust them to continue being good. And of course, they are playing in the Champions League. Not the conference, not even an upgrade to Europa. Back where they belong in the Champions League on the world's stage. So therefore, more potential sponsor suitors available. They want to be part of, London as well. Kings of the King's Road. Swanky. They want to be a part of that. Okay, they won the Conference League as well. So, these young players that play for Chelsea, they got a taste of silverware. They got a taste of what it's like to lift a trophy. That's always good for breaking the seal, and, it's a good habit to learn. And of course, the icing, or should I say, Martin Tyler would say, the cherry on the icing on the cake is, of course, the Club World Cup. Great promotion, marketing, PR in London. Cole Palmer's becoming like the face of almost English football, let alone Chelsea. Certainly temporarily in America, it was him and Ousmane Dembele, or the poster boys for the elite finish of the Club World Cup. And Cole Palmer just flipped the script and tore apart the final, of course, winning player of the tournament, man of the match, lifting the trophy. And now, Chelsea, you sponsors out there, you potential sponsors, not only is it a young team that are going to be only get better, that's your company's going to be on this developing product, getting better and better and better. Not only are they used to winning trophies, not only are they playing in the Champions League against the Europeans elite, who, by the way, they can slap up 3-0 apparently, but they are going to have world champions on the kit that you are partnered with. So if you sign a 5-year deal, that's 80% of the contract length. Your sponsorship is going to be next to not just the badge, not just Nike or Chelsea badge, world champions. Well, that's going to be worth peas. Line up, potential sponsors. Form an orderly queue down the King's Road. You're going to need the whole ruddy length of it, because there should be a lot of suitors, mate. And hopefully we make a lot of money, buy a lot of players, win lots of trophies, and have a lovely time. I do feel, we're talking money here and the business side, which I do find interesting, but the most important thing is I'm starting to feel a connection to this Chelsea team again, which is just nothing short of a beautiful thing. Okay, we are going to talk about the transfers now, mate. We're going to jump in. Maybe not drop. Let's jump. Hop. Gently step into the deal sheet. There's no point screen sharing with you because many of you just listen to me, which means you don't think I'm beautiful, which is hurtful. But we're going to get into this now. Right, so Chelsea segment on the deal sheet on The Athletic. Has anything happened over the past week? Boy, has it. But this is obviously speaking about transfers. Chelsea are starting to get busy on the outgoings front, which of course you and I know, guys, is very, very important for Chelsea at the moment. The most significant news agreeing a deal of 52 million boys. 52 million quid, mate, for Noni Madueke. Penny for his thoughts, kicking his heels at London. Everybody's looking at me. I don't hear a word to say. Just sort of kicking his heels at the Arsenal training ground. The winger returned from America before the Club World Cup final to go have a medical. A switch to be completed this week. Goalkeeper Georgi Petrovic is also set to finalise his move to Bournemouth. The Athletic previously reported, of course, yada yada yada. The gentleman's agreement for 25 million quid. 30 million euros, a lot of money for Georgi Petrovic. Well, not really. You're getting a good goalkeeper for 25 million euros. Chelsea make a good profit on him. Good for the books. He gets to go and be a first-team goalkeeper undisputed. But I said it before. Heck, I'll say it again. If he's happy to go and be the Bournemouth first choice, maybe that's just his level. Maybe he's not a Champions League level goalkeeper. Yeah. I'm so sick of talking to goalkeepers, but it's very important. If it comes up again, we can speak about it. Midfielder, of course, Matisse Mugu is left for Strasbourg for an undisclosed fee. Of course, we bought him for 12 million odd quid from St. Etienne. Good young midfielder. Should make Strasbourg better. I mean, Zach Sturge also has gone out to Millwall on a permanent basis for an undisclosed fee, so there's some outgoings there. Has Chelsea's budget changed because of their Club World Cup campaign? Money, 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 money. This is what we want to know. Can we sign some big boy players? We're going to talk about Garnacho in a bit, don't worry. Chelsea picking up a neat 85 million quid, ching ching ching, from winning the tournament is a nice figure to put on the balance sheet. Although, that amount will be taxed. Boo! That sum alone has paid for 2 of the 3 summer signings in Liam Delap and Jamie Gittins. Yeah, that ain't bad going, is it? Especially when you can amortize the the transfer. So let's just say that's paid for those two. Who have you got left? Joao Pedro. What was Joao Pedro? 50 million odd quid. You amortize that. Even though he signed a longer deal, you amortize that over 5 years. It's £10 million for this financial year. So far, for this immediate financial year, you could be like, oh, we've only need to fork out 10 million quid for all these signings. And we've sold already like hundreds, well, not like quite a lot, basically. Because Humphreys as well. Bashir Humphreys, he did go for like 12 million, I think he did, Bashir Humphreys. Yeah, we've made a lot of money so far. It's not being referenced here, but he's probably done a little while ago. Bare peas, fam, as they say on road. The sales listed above, plus Kepa Arrizabalaga's £5 million transfer to Arsenal, mean they are currently on the cusp of making a profit so far this summer, despite buying loads of shiny attackers. I'm actually going to do a video soon about Chelsea's sort of new tactics going into next season and formation, and talking about how Neto played in the final, how Jamie Gittins could do that as well. Very interesting indeed. Even though they've spent another 50 million quid on Joao Pedro, they've been fined also 27 odd million pounds for the UEFA breach. Chelsea are in healthy communication with UEFA. This is me speaking now. They've always maintained that's their desire, to keep a line of communication, to keep the books open to UEFA. Of course, they've circumvented, they've navigated, they've moonwalked past PSR rules in the Premier League, but you can't do that with UEFA. You've got to pay fines and make sure you're keeping them sweet, basically. So we're hoping we can do that. It means Chelsea are genuinely in a really good financial position to add to their squad, but any additions would of course depend on departures. So many departures need to happen, guys, which is the priority for the time being. Right. What positions / players are Chelsea looking at? With Madueke leaving for Arsenal, Chelsea are open to the idea of adding another wide attacking player to the ranks, and they have held interest in, deep breath in, Alejandro Garnacho. Manchester United are looking to sell the 21-year-old. Of course, he himself reportedly, or Fabrizio Romano is posting on X, that he only wants to stay in the Premier League. And there's only one team in the Premier League that's been looking at him, and that's us. I am going to spend a few seconds on talking about Garnacho. Very concerned about his attitude. I do respect what is a great talent. He's only 20. I will say it feels like he's been around for longer, but he's still so young because he's played first team football for a while. He's got a huge set of gonads on him, scoring that overhead kick. He's he's got that belief, self-belief. I do think not just Chelsea, any sensible club that is structured with a project that know what they're doing, which is Chelsea, and I've actually believed that for a while, for the amount of stick I've got for saying it. A lot more people are starting to believe it. I think he would do better. I don't want us to sign Garnacho. I'll very much nail my colours to the mast. If he signs, I think he'd do better at Chelsea than United, but I think that's more of a Man United thing. We will see what happens there. Aston Villa's Morgan Rogers is another creative player they admire, less so of a very much left-sided player, but if you said to me, Jan, who would you rather sign, Morgan Rogers or Alejandro Garnacho? Do I even need to answer that question? Right. What players could be leaving? Well, a lot. Short answer there. Several fringe squad members who are up for sale began pre-season training at Cobham last week while the first team was still away, of course, in USA. The Athletic reported it was made up of players that were loaned out by the club last season, including the likes of Joao Felix, Ben Chilwell, Axel Disasi, Leslie Ugochukwu, Renato Vega, Armando Bruya, and Alfie Gilchrist. Okay, so out of those, Raheem Sterling is no longer wanted at Stamford Bridge. Christopher Nkunku has interest from Bayern as well as Vega. Borussia Dortmund are also keen to re-sign Carney Chukwuemeka on loan with an option to buy. Chelsea prefer straight sale. I think that will happen one way or another, purely down to the volume of business Chelsea need to execute. They'll see Carney back to Dortmund as a good move, even if it just ends up on loan to develop his profile, his value. I think that will happen. Let's just run through these names. I think Christopher Nkunku is a little bit easier than he was. Sadly, of course, there was a horrific injury to Musiala at Bayern, and I think that might strike up more interest for Nkunku there. I hope that happens. Christo, his time is done at Chelsea. I'm pleased he had a happy ending, but his time is up. It's done. It needs to stop, Raheem Sterling, I've absolutely a highest earner on the books by some distance. I've absolutely no clue. No clue. We'll follow that story with great interest / fear. So keep it locked to this channel for Raheem Sterling and all transfer updates. Alfie Gilchrist definitely will get a sale. Even if it's a good championship team, he'll pure profit. That's cynical and negative as that is to say. It's true. He will go. He will go and it will be sold. Bruyer's tricky because he's a really high ceiling player that a lot of football scouts think is very good, but he's just never got a run of injury. Renato Vega is eminently sellable and he will represent a huge profit. Leslie Gachukwu, I don't know if he will represent a huge profit, but is eminently sellable as well. And then you've got Disassi, who I think will sell, make a little loss in him, but I don't think it will be hard to flog. Ben Chilwell's tough because of high wages. Joao Felix is tough because high wages. He's not an insane wages because Chelsea re-signed him and sort of, we had already started the project of the wage structure. I think we juiced his up slightly, but nothing silly. It's just probably too much for Benfica, who are the most interested in him. Now, before we'll finish on Jackson in just a moment, Chelsea under-21 defender Ishe Samuel-Smith has held talk with Strasbourg. Probably be really good for him. A lot of people wanted him to remain and be this sort of like left-sided defender backup, but sending a player to Strasbourg now actually could be a really good thing. We've seen for Moreira, Andre Santos, Georgi Petrovic. It's quite exciting. Chelsea are also looking to sell him. Oh, if we sell him to Strasbourg, he's still kind of ours, isn't he? 8 million quid. Midfielder Kendry Paez, defender Aaron Anselmino, and goalkeeper Mike Penders are all being earmarked to loan to League 1 side. Yeah, so there's a party at Strasbourg. Paez, really exciting player. He could do a Santos there. Aaron Anselmino, centre back, highly rated. Penders is the big one, I think. Well, Paez as well. Kendry Paez. People are forgetting about him a little bit, but he's really, really, really highly rated. And Nicholas Jackson, the centre forward deemed not as untouchable by the club. He could be sold if we receive a high enough offer. Let's speak a little bit about Jackson to finish then. He behaved like a very naughty boy at the end of last season and in a Club World Cup. The red cards are silly. We've won all the games we played except the 2 games where he got sent off in the last, God knows how many, 17 odd games. Why don't we know? It's loads and loads of games. We only lost 2. They were both when he got sent off. Now, I'll say in his defence, there's no defence of being sent off. The Flamengo game, we probably were going to lose anyway, just because of how the game was going. Maybe we didn't, but it was the final nail in the coffin, his red card. So I think he's on the naughty step. But he's not just on the naughty step. Joao Pedro has just absolutely exploded. We can wax lyrical about him a little bit more on future tactics videos. I'm going to do more of those here on the channel and speak about Maresca's setup. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, keep it locked. And of course, Liam Delap, even coming off the bench in the Club World Cup final, looked mustard, mate, with those couple of shots. Certainly the first one, his first action. Great drive, great shot, forcing a great save from Gigi Donnarumma. So he looks like the boy as well. And, even with, Pedro, Delap, and, neither of them would be going to AFCON. But if there's some crazy situation where both of them are injured, again, like we had last season, Neto can do a job there in a team where suddenly you could have Gittins on the left, Neto false 9, and Palmer in this kind of hybrid right space role we've seen him play recently with Gusto overlapping, and it seems to have made Palmer go Super Saiyan. Again, that's something I'm going to talk about on a tactics video, which will be my next upload. So Jackson, Man United looking at him apparently, which is pretty funny because they don't want him, but he's a good player. We know Maresca likes Nicholas Jackson. We saw how he genuinely played worse without him last season because he made the attack better. But I think it was because he's good and he made us better. But I also think it's because we weren't in a position to rely on just other facets of the team working well. I think we survived obviously with the new strikers. He's not surplus to requirement. Like, he can still help Chelsea. But Chelsea, again, are in a, like I said at the top of the video, the sponsor, they're in a really strong position with Jackson. Because if someone goes, come on, you want to sell him, you got these 2 new boys, sell him to us for 40 million quid. You bought him for 29 million quid, that's big profit. Chelsea can go, no, we don't need to sell him. We don't need money, as you can see. We got all these other guys to sell. And we like Jackson. Jackson's consistently scored X amount of non-penalty goals for us. You can look at the data, how he made our attack better. We don't want to lose that. We're in the Champions League now. Unless you offer us £65 million. Do you know what I mean? Like, over double their money. So they're in a position now where they can do that. I'm kind of okay with it. I'm very okay with him staying. And of course, we will keep a very close eye on the Rob Sanchez goalkeeper situation. And that will be a continued story. But I wanted to give you a video off. He had an amazing final for Chelsea in the Club World Cup. He had broadly a good competition. I was listening to some neutral analysts say he's had loads of errors in the competition, which I'd contest. I think he's just always going to have that record in, even when he like comes up clutch. And for me, it's probably not the guy. Guys, what do you think? Leave your thoughts, feelings, comments, opinions, musings, stuff in the comment section below. Thank you as always for supporting the content, for liking and subscribing. And if you do enjoy my content, that's nice. Go check out the second channel, Football Yannick, daily content on there as well. All right, mate. Enjoy the ruddy football and the Euros. There's some football for you. Peace.